Today we're looking at the North-South divide. No, we're not bringing politics onto the channel. We're looking at this beer. North-South divide is a collaboration between Salt Brewing Factory and Siren Brewing Factory. It's a Kveik IPA coming in at 7.4%. And this is available in supermarkets, Morrisons, for just £4. Well, what's it going to be like? Keep on watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. As I said in the intro, we're going to be reviewing this beer. This is a North-South divide. It's with Salt Brewing that are based in the north and Siren that are based in the south. So Salt, well, they're up in sort of Yorkshire, and Siren, are based, I think, sort of Basingstoke, Bracknell, that sort of way, sort of west of London, Greater London. So yeah, quite a striking sort of can. It's got this lovely sort of metallic, sort of pink. You can see the sort of honeycomb, which is associated a lot with obviously all the salt brewing, and yeah, it's a Kveik IPA. Now, I've always called it Kveik IPA, but I'm just looking on the back here. It says it's pronounced, well, I mean, they haven't written it very well, but it's pronounced Kveik. So is it Kveik? Or is that Kveik? 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 I think Kveik sounds better. So I'm going to, for the use of this, I'm going to just keep calling it Kveik. And you can just say that's just a rockerism or something, you know, in terms of my pronunciation of words. So 7.44%, pretty hard hitting really. And it's Morrison's beer, exclusive in Morrisons, £4. So it's at the top level really of their sort of craft IPAs. Yeah, and what sort of hops has it got? It's got quite a lot of hops in Citra, Galaxy, Idaho 7 and Sabro. So I'm expecting a New England sort of style. I'm expecting, with obviously Idaho 7 and Sabro, a lot of tropical, pineapple especially. But, you know, we nearly got to 2 minutes and I haven't even opened the can yet. So let's get this beautiful looking can open and get it in a glass. So it took me a while to find this one. There are other people that are probably, it's been out a few weeks, but I'm a bit late to the party with this one. But, you know, better late than never. And I know you guys out there like supermarket beers. And we just want to find, you know, the best ones. Now, this certainly looks pretty good in a glass. So we've got an orangey coloured, very, very hazy, 2 fingers, pretty compacted head. Yeah, it looks very sort of quite dark orange for, I mean, I say it's a New England. It doesn't say it's a New England, but obviously a New England you expect a little bit lighter. But this is quite orange, golden, amber, orangey. It looks beautiful. Let's see what the aroma is like. Yeah, a lot of pungent sort of, quite surprised it's got quite a lot of sort of almost like a candied sort of orange sort of aroma. But yeah, I mean, you get a lot of the tropicals like your mangoes and passion fruit in there as well. I'm not picking up loads of pineapple, which you would expect with Sabro and Idaho 7. There is a very sort of sweet, candied sort of smell. And I thought it was sort of candied orange, but it's just a real sweet sort of smell. Now that's a bit, I suppose it's a little bit funky. Now, Kveik yeast can make beer a little bit funky. So let's see what it tastes like. Cheers, everyone. Really, really juicy. There's a lot of, you get a lot of hop. There's a lot of, I mean, there's 4 different hops in there, and you can taste that there's a lot of hops going in that beer because there's that real sort of fresh, hot, burny sort of, I wouldn't call it a burn, but there's definitely that sort of on the edge of being like a hop burn. You can tell that there's loads of hops in it. It's really fruity. And there's an element of dankness in there as well, which I'm a little bit surprised at really in terms of the Citra, Galaxy, Idaho 7, There's a lot more sort of, they're a bit more sort of singing sort of hops, I would say. They're less of the sort of dank like a mosaic and you know, an equinox and those sort of hops. There's a lot of fruit and the yeast, and you can tell that you got a little bit of boost from the Kveik yeast that sort of does amp up the flavour, but it's quite difficult to actually gauge what sort of flavours I'm actually getting in here. I'm getting the mango. Mango's in there. Pineapple is quite, it's difficult to really sort of capture the pineapple. I'm sure I would expect, you know, Sabro is definitely coconut flavoured. There's quite a lot of also that lime, which again associated with Sabro. I mean, Sabro is part of a foursome in here, this thing, so I don't think the Sabro is overpowering too much. I'm not really picking up that coconut that you sometimes get, but I am picking up lime. That's quite a big flavour. Mango, passion fruit, orange, lime. And it's just, it tastes really sort of chewy. It's one of those sort of IPAs that, you know, you don't usually find in a supermarket. But, you know, ones that we've had from the bottle shops. People like, you know, brewers like Polly's especially so, you know, and renowned for them. There's a lot of hops go into it. So you can sometimes get a real chewy type of consistency that's really sort of, you know, quite gloopy, you know, on the mouthfeel. But it's, at the same time, pretty soft on the mouthfeel. I'm picking up something else. I think it's just orange. It's that, I'm getting a little bit of orange rind, and that's a little bit of grapefruit in there as well. Quite sharp grapefruit as well. And that creates a little bit of bitterness. And then I think, you know, the Kveik's doing something to funk it out a little bit. And it's a very good beer. I mean, it's almost that sort of beer that you don't really get much in the supermarket. These sort of flavours. It does taste like a real quality 5-6 quid IPA, not a £4 supermarket beer. So that's really good. Whether the average punter that goes into Morrisons and thinks, oh, I'll pick that up because I like the can, and you know, I mean, maybe they're like me, they're a southerner living in the north, so they like this north-south divide, the whole concept of it. And to be honest, that can artwork, when I saw it in the supermarket, I thought, oh, I'll pick that up, that looks great. I mean, it does look, it's a really nice looking can. And when you look at the stuff in it, yeah, there's lots of great hops in there. But the taste, I think for newcomers, would be quite different than some of the other supermarket beers like your pale ales and stuff. This is a very, very hop forward beer. Low levels of carbonation, soft. I wouldn't say creamy, and I think it's because there is that sort of real fruit burst in every sort of mouthful that really sort of, you get in oranges and passion fruit and mango, a real tropical sort of fruit bar. They're much more in those sort of flavours. I'm getting a bit of peach and apricot as well. And then you've got this real zest, real strong zest of lime and a real strong sort of grapefruit. I wouldn't say the grapefruit flavour is especially strong, but when it does come through, it's like that real sort of tart, almost sour grapefruit sort of flavour. It's more the real sort of juiciness of a grapefruit. And that really is what this beer is about. There's loads of real juice in this. I think it's a really good beer. If you love craft beer and you normally pay 5 or 6 quid for an IPA, I mean, it's almost getting close, and even in flavour, but also it's 7.4% to a double IPA, really. It's got that sort of characteristics, that real big hop burst, and it's also got a real chewy sort of fruity flavour. It's pretty good. Let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for the North-South Divide by Salt and Siren Brew. It's a Kveik. Whether I pronounce Kveik right is up to you. Guys, a Kveik IPA coming at 7.4% with 4 hops. Galaxy, Citra, Idaho 7 and Sabro. And this is a Morrisons beer, and it's 4 quid, which, you know, pretty good 4 quid can of beer that. We'll start with aroma. So the first thing you get is a real... yeah, I mean, the aroma's just really juicy. It's really fruity. I wouldn't say it's, you know, you're getting a lot of those sort of mango sort of aromas. You're getting mango, you're getting passion fruit. You're getting a little bit of sort of candied orange in there. There's a sweetness, an overripe sort of aroma there. But it's very pungent and quite inviting. It smells pretty good. I'm giving it 14 for aroma. Appearance, well, I mean, the colour of it is I mean, I've used it before in another video. It is like liquid gold, really. It's a sort of, it's a bit deeper than gold. It's a sort of very shiny sort of orange color. I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean, there's not much in terms of the head there. It's pretty much gone because the carbonation is pretty low on it. The head disappears quite quickly, but I think it looks pretty good. That color is just really inviting. 9 out of 10 for appearance. Flavor. So it's a difficult one to really sort of give my flavor score on this. There's so much juice. There's so much hops. It's got a soft mouthfeel. Literally no carbonation. It slides down really well. But there's almost like too much hops. There's too much stuff going on. It creates this wave of flavor, tropical flavor. But it doesn't, it's almost like a massive wave all at once, and there's no journey you're going on here. There's no back end, there's no bitterness. So you're getting a lot of those big flavors all in one hit, and then you've got to sort of think about what you've tasted there. It's on the edge of having a little bit of hop burn. It's 7.4% as well, so it's also getting to the point where it's getting a little bit towards a double IPA in terms of its strength, and you can tell it's a high-end IPA in terms of its alcohol content. I think to some people, they would find it a little bit too overpowering. It's very hop forward. If you don't like hoppy beers, you won't like it at all. But if you do like hoppy beers and you like the beers, you know, especially if you like Polly's, it's got so much characteristics of that. That real, you know that they put a hell of a lot of hops in there. Loads of hops, you know, there's no compromise because it's a supermarket beer at all. But I think they should dial it back a little bit, because you get this wave of juiciness and fruit, and then you think, but then there's a slight dankness that comes in, and the sort of the pineapple, and the, you know, then you think, is it real dank fruit, or am I sort of tasting a little bit of alcohol there? You know, that sort of ruins the flavour. It's still pretty good. I think if you like hop forward beers, and especially if you're like, oh no, I don't drink anything lower than a double IPA, then I think you should give this one a go, because I think it is at that sort of level. It's getting to the point where it's like a lot of double IPAs in terms of its flavour profile. So after a lot of deliberation, I think I'm giving it 33 for flavour. Value for money. Well, I mean, 7.4%, 4 different hops, and you can tell there's a lot of flavour in it. There's nothing watery about this beer at all. And this was £4. I mean, it's the high end. It's quite expensive in terms of supermarket beers, although you're paying £3.50 on average now anyway in most supermarkets for an IPA, even pale ales. So I think this is pretty good value for money. There's a lot going into this beer. There's little compromise. So I'm giving it 9 out of 10 for value. And my overall experience, well, like I described in the flavour, it's not something, it's not easy drinking. You're sitting there and you're really chewing every mouthful a little bit more, because there's a lot of flavour. And there's a real dankness of over-ripened fruit flavours in there. So I don't think I'd want to drink loads of this. It's nice to have as a one-off, and I think it's a good quality beer, but it will come down to your own personal preference. If you think that you don't like the high end of the alcohol in terms of, you know, 7% plus on IPAs, and you're not into your doubles and your triple IPAs, then you probably won't get much from it. But if you do like those sort of beers, and you might think, oh, this is just a 7.4, it's low end. But I think if you like your double IPAs, you'll get a lot of enjoyment from this one. But for me, I'm giving it 13 for overall experience. So we top these scores up and get 78. It's a recommended beer. It's a top end of that recommended level. 78 is a high-end White Snake beer. So it's a good rated beer, and it's definitely a good quality beer. What it comes down to really is, in terms of your enjoyment of it, is whether, you know, you can hack that big hop forwardness of the beer, because it is definitely a hoppy beer, but it's pretty good. I've nearly finished it. The dog's barking, that must mean my dinner's ready. So hope you enjoyed that video, and until the next one, you know what we're going to do. Keep on rocking.